Hello, I'm Mahendra Gooroochurn. Actually, I'm from Mauritius. I work as an academic at the University of Mauritius. I'm from engineering background. I'm from the mechanical and production engineering department at the University of Mauritius. My research interest is in sustainable development with a specific focus on the built environment. So I'm very pleased to create this video provocation in the context of the Rise Africa event. So I would like to share my passion, if you want, and also my concern for sustainability and how using the built environment we can create really a huge impact to make positive change. Now we know the built environment is an area which has received lots of interest for various economies around the world, principally because it's a huge consumer of natural resources, both during the construction and as well as during the operation of the building. And we are all attached actually to buildings. We spend a lot of time in our building, with our home or at our offices. So as we all know, if we don't pay attention to the specific features that would be relevant in the building design at the design stage itself, it can lead to significant issues down the line. We know people facing issues with thermal discomfiture or visual glare in offices or even at home, and then they would look for all sorts of measures to actually address these issues. For example, when it comes to thermal discomfiture, this can mean actually installing air conditioning equipment increasingly, or mechanical ventilation. Or when it comes to visual glare, maybe it's common in your countries to see people sticking papers on glass panes because they would have the sun directly penetrating through the working spaces and creating glare on the workstations, on the screens, or on other reflective surfaces. We all know this could actually be taken care of if we do a proper analysis in the design phase. Now, if we don't take care of these elements to the design, down the line, we're creating a vicious cycle where we're going to start investing more into these active energy systems. And since our grid is not really clean energy, we do have carbon emissions associated with each kilowatt hour we use. So, for example, if we want to deal with heating requirement or cooling requirement, and we ask people to install these active energy systems more and more because their buildings have not been properly conceived or designed to optimize the use of natural resources, or to actually regulate the trust of these buildings, or to control the penetration of direct radiation, we are getting stuck in a vicious cycle where people will invest more and more into active energy systems, and ultimately we're going to create more carbon emissions, create more climate change, and this is actually unsustainable. So I think it's very important that people in the field are able to raise awareness to the general public on very simple measures that they can take on board while designing the buildings, or deciding on the layout of the buildings, for example. And passive design would come as a very important tool that needs to be taken care of. Very basic fundamental knowledge on the solar path of the specific region they are in, and what simple measures they can integrate in the building so that as much as possible they are able to use as less of active energy systems as possible. It can go a long way actually to improving the building energy performance. Okay. And of course, renewable energy is there to be integrated in the built environment, but we need to follow this systematic approach to improving the energy efficiency as much as possible based on passive design methods. Now, another important aspects related to buildings, of course, are issues like flooding, issues like waste, use of wet materials, so solid waste management. So all these are properly integrated, of course, in green building frameworks, and these are also avenues for improving sustainability of environments. For example, if you don't deal properly with runoff from surfaces, from roof surfaces or hard surfaces in the built environment, this can lead to serious issues with flooding. And so these things should also be encouraged, because if we actually do a proper integrated design, we know we can actually bring out synergies in designs and built environment, and we could use, for example, the water to actually meet non-potable ends. Now, when we talk of very big constructions, we can always talk of integrated design where the whole team is coming together and able to do optimization. But my focus is more on here in the address here of the general public. For example, when they design their home or very small apartments, it's very important that they have the correct knowledge in place, because for these type of projects, we typically won't be running advanced analysis. So we need to be able to create prescriptions for them, or very simple rules that they can understand how their decisions at the design phase would actually impact on the operation of the buildings. And also, one thing I would want to highlight, and I think it's very important for us to know, is we can learn a lot from the traditional constructions we had maybe a few decades before. But now, because of modern construction and maybe issues with climate change, for example, in Mauritius, we do have cyclones. So over time, people have shifted to constructions based on concrete technology because it's more resistant to cyclones. But on the other hand, it's not necessarily good for thermal comfort or for heat regulation. So the traditional constructions that we have, for example, in Mauritius, it used to be called cruel construction. So we had very nice terraces around buildings to actually provide a buffer for heat not to penetrate inside the building and provide very nice, comfortable environment, which could be very easily achieved using simple ceiling fans. So how can we now adapt or bring again these traditional construction practices, which have proven over time, but unfortunately, maybe they were not adapted to the changing climatic conditions. But it will be very relevant to actually bring them back and see how we can integrate these traditional construction practices into modern construction culture. So that's why I wanted to create this video provocation to highlight the importance of using the built environment to actually influence sustainable development in economies across the world. And I think since people have an emotional bond attached to their homes, their offices, this can also be used to create a general sustainable mindset, which can be used to actually having a ripple effect in other areas as well, and to create a sustainability movement in other areas. Thank you very much.